Greetings. Welcome to this podcast where we will discuss personal finance management, budgeting, and saving strategies. Many of us hear the word and immediately think of spreadsheets, math, and sacrifice. But here's the truth: budgeting is freedom. It's about taking control of your money so your money doesn't control you. And saving? That's the cherry on top. It's the safety net that lets you sleep peacefully at night. Picture this: it's a sunny afternoon, and I'm waiting for a haircut when the barber starts chatting about how he spends every penny he makes. He says, "I don't know where my money goes, but it disappears." That got me thinking. So many of us work hard, but without a plan. It's like pouring water into a leaky bucket. Today, we're going to plug those leaks and show you how to build financial security with smart budgeting and saving strategies. Take Sarah, a colleague of mine. She's a single mom juggling work and bills. One day in the office, she shared how she used to dread the end of the month because money was always tight. But then she started using what she calls the envelope system. She allocated cash into labeled envelopes: rent, groceries, fun, savings. Once the envelope was empty, that was it, no overspending. 6 months later, Sarah had saved enough for a family vacation. Her family were thrilled, and she said it felt like she had finally taken control of her life. Let me tell you about the infamous coffee sandwich day at work. Our team had a habit of spending way too much on overpriced lunches. So, one Friday, Mike, the big spender I mentioned earlier, challenged us to bring lunch from home. He brought turkey sandwiches and homemade cold brew for everyone. We crunched the numbers. By switching to packed lunches just 3 times a week, each of us could save nearly $1,500 a year. That's a vacation, a new gadget, or a solid start to an emergency fund. And guess what? The coffee sandwich challenge became a monthly tradition. The forgotten subscription story. A friend of mine, Jane, realized she was paying for 3 streaming services she rarely used. She canceled 2 and redirected the $25 she saved each month to her savings account. Over a year, that's $300. Small changes can have a big impact. The DIY adventure. One weekend, I decided to fix a leaky faucet myself instead of calling a plumber. I watched a free tutorial, bought a $10 kit, and saved over $100 in service fees. Learning simple DIY skills is a fantastic way to cut unnecessary expenses. Impulse buying regret. My neighbor Joe once bought an expensive treadmill on impulse, thinking he'd use it every day. 3 months later, it was a $1,000 clothes rack. If only he'd followed the 24-hour rule, waiting before big purchases to avoid regret. Let me take you back to a chilly Monday morning. I'm grabbing coffee at a local cafe when I overhear a conversation. A young woman says, "I make good money, but I'm always broke by the end of the month." Her friend, sipping a latte, replies, "Same here. I should probably start budgeting, but it feels impossible." Ever been there? If so, this podcast is for you. Today, we're diving into the world of personal finance management, unraveling budgeting and saving strategies to help you master your money like a pro. Here's a real-life example. My coworker Mike, who's always been the big spender in the office, once joked he couldn't save a dime if his life depended on it. But one day, he realized he was living paycheck to paycheck despite earning a solid income. We sat down, worked out his expenses, and created a simple 50/30/20 budget: 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings. In just 6 months, Mike built a $5,000 emergency fund and started investing. Speaking of Mike, let me tell you about the time he brought sandwiches for the entire team after hitting his first savings goal. Over coffee, he shared how tracking daily expenses changed everything. He realized he was spending $200 a month on takeout coffee and snacks. Cutting that in half allowed him to save $1,200 annually without giving up his love for Let's. Important tips. Use the snowball method for debt. Pay off smaller debts first to build momentum before tackling larger ones. Round up savings apps. Use apps that round up your purchases to the nearest dollar and save the difference. Negotiate bills. Call service providers to negotiate lower rates on utilities, internet, or insurance. Buy generic. Generic brands can save you 20 to 30% compared to name brand products. Avoid lifestyle inflation. As your income increases, keep your expenses steady, and save the difference. Create a sinking fund. Save for large, recurring expenses like holidays or car repairs in advance. Set a no-spend day. Choose one day a week to spend nothing. It's surprisingly effective. Limit ATM withdrawals. Stick to a weekly cash withdrawal to curb overspending. Bulk buying. Purchase non-perishable items in bulk to save on long-term costs. Invest in quality. Sometimes, spending more upfront on quality products saves money in the long run. Automate your savings. Treat savings like a bill you must pay. Automate a percentage of your income into a separate account. Track every dollar. Use apps or a simple notebook to track income and expenses. Awareness is key. Set smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Want to save $5,000? Break it into monthly targets. Embrace the 24-hour rule. Before making a big purchase, wait 24 hours. Impulse buying is a budget killer. Cut unnecessary subscriptions. Review your subscriptions and cancel those you barely use. Cook more, eat out less, save money and discover your inner chef. Emergency fund first. Aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses in savings before investing. Shop smart. Use discounts, cashback apps, and coupons to save on everyday purchases. Prioritize debt repayment. High-interest debt is a financial leech. Eliminate it ASAP. Celebrate small wins. Reward yourself for reaching milestones, but stay within budget. Some important FAQs which are commonly asked by many. What is the 50/30/20 rule? It's a budgeting method allocating 50% of income to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings or debt repayment. How much should I save monthly? Aim for at least 20% of your income, but start small if needed. What are the best tools for budgeting? Popular options include mobile apps and spreadsheets. How can I save on everyday expenses? Track spending, eliminate wasteful habits, and seek discounts. What is an emergency fund? It's money saved to cover unexpected expenses like medical bills or car repairs. When should I start investing? Once you have an emergency fund and no high-interest debt. How do I stop impulse buying? Use the 24-hour rule and focus on your long-term goals. What are high-yield savings accounts? These accounts offer better interest rates for your savings. Is paying off debt more important than saving? Prioritize high-interest debt while maintaining a small emergency fund. How do I plan for big expenses? Create a sinking fund. Set aside small amounts regularly for specific goals. How do I budget if I have irregular income? Base your budget on your lowest average monthly income and adjust for surplus months. What is the difference between saving and investing? Saving is setting aside money for short-term needs, while investing grows your wealth over the long term. How much should I keep in an emergency fund? Aim for 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. Can I save money while paying off debt? Yes, allocate a small percentage to savings while focusing on debt repayment. What is a sinking fund? It's a fund for planned expenses like vacations, weddings, or car maintenance. What is lifestyle inflation? It's increasing your spending as your income grows. Avoid this by saving or investing extra income. Should I save or invest first? Build an emergency fund and pay off high-interest debt before investing. What is the best way to track expenses? Apps like Mint, YNAB, or a simple spreadsheet work wonders. How can I save without giving up my social life? Look for free or low-cost activities and set a monthly budget for fun. Remember Mike? Today, he's debt-free, has a solid emergency fund, and even started investing in his retirement. He says budgeting isn't about deprivation, it's about creating opportunities. Imagine what you could do with a plan and a little discipline. Let's end with David's story. He started tracking every dollar he spent after reading about money leaks. Turns out, he was spending $100 a month on unused gym memberships and $150 on weekly happy hours. By cutting back and reallocating that money, he saved $3,000 in a year, enough to take a dream road trip across the country. Disclaimer: this podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always consult a financial advisor for personalized guidance.